Welcome to Real Talk on SABC3, the channel where the stage is yours. Of course, I'm not Anele. Well, for the time that she's away on holiday, I'll be with you every day from 6 to 7 p.m. My name is Azania Mosaka, and I did say that this is the return, Baba. A whole decade later, and I'm honored to be a part of the Real Talk and SABC3 family. So thank you for showing me love. This is definitely going to be a real treat for me as well. So I want you to think back. Just think back to your time as a teenager, or just take a look at most of the young people today. At around the ages of 14, 15, many of our youth are concerned with social media popularity and celebrity culture, checking for who's trending on Twitter or who's breaking up with whom, than they are concerned with building a legacy for themselves. But this is not unusual, considering that there are a select bunch of young people, like some of my guests today, who understand that everyone can tell you the risk, but entrepreneurs see the reward. First up, I want to welcome the founder of SA Entrepreneur Foundation. Now, they believe in nurturing the kind of entrepreneurs with the drive that sees them going from making pocket money to fully fledged businesses. And with that, I'd like to welcome Lydia Zingoni, the founder of SA Entrepreneurship Foundation. Good afternoon, Lydia.
Thank you for having me, and afternoon.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So you established this foundation back in 1997. What was the inspiration behind it?
The date is actually not correct. We established in 2011.
I see.
2011. And the idea was to instill a culture of entrepreneurship in young people across South Africa. We realized there was a gap in the market for that.
Yeah. And when you think of the unemployment rate in South Africa, it is extremely stubborn. It's sitting at about 36%. And when you think of young people below the age of 25, the number is even higher at about 67%. So do you believe then that if we nurture and encourage the youth to become entrepreneurs, that somehow we can start to curb the unemployment problem?
That is the way. I mean, if we're not going to instill a culture of entrepreneurship, the unemployment will definitely always be there. What we need is to educate our young people to have that insight into them, because with entrepreneurship, you are armed with a new pair of eyes to see opportunities and gaps in the market, which you possibly wouldn't be able to see. So our idea is that if every child could be exposed, we'll definitely get our million entrepreneurs by the year 2030, which the government really wants. And the person we are talking to right now around that is a person sitting in a school, age 14. And if we don't do that right now, we will continue with that unemployment figure rising. You know, I cannot even want to contemplate that. The idea is, let's start now.
Yes.
Let's instill a culture of entrepreneurship in our young people.
Why 14, though? Why do you think that that's the perfect time to strike?
When I say 14, I'm just talking about the teenagers, because that's the age when they are curious, when they've got so much energy, they've got so much support, and they've got that support structure around them. They are in school. We have got about 16 million young people right now in school. That's about a third of our population. And if we can do that, arm them with that kind of new pair of eyes, how come young people coming in from other countries come here and suddenly they see the opportunities which our young people don't see? I go to schools and I smell the kids and I think, wow, God, if only we could empower these young people with that inner eye to see the gaps and opportunities within their own communities and within the country. This country is vast with so many opportunities for young people.
Right. Does you being an entrepreneur, because this is part of the journey that you've traveled. You started your own businesses previously. So has that enabled you to identify this mindset in the young people that you encounter?
Exactly. I've also run my own businesses, as you know, in internet cafes, book trade. But what really led me into what I'm currently doing is when I was sitting as a CPUT at the University of CPUT, which is the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, where I was the library director. Young people started coming and saying, we want information on how we can actually start businesses. And that led me to say, why are they asking this kind of information now at university? What's happening? What kind of information are we giving our young people before they even get to university? And I had to appeal to that idea of mine to say, look, I've been there, and if young people are already at university and they are now curious, they must be more curious even when they are still young.
When they're younger.
When they are much younger and much more energetic, and there's still a lot of years ahead of them.
So does that then suggest you believe that we should introduce entrepreneurship as a subject already at high school level?
That's one strategy. The other strategy, which we're doing right now, is creating entrepreneurial societies in schools, because teaching it just as a subject, which is like a maths or whatever, won't practicalize it. But once you actually doing the kind of work which we're doing, where we start off with idea generation, the young kids are allowed to, you know, to flourish, to have the ideas, to think around what they can do and improve in their own, you know, in their own societies, to look at challenges which are happening within their own communities and turn that into businesses. That is the kind of thing which would definitely change this, you know, this scenario.
Right. And what's also interesting is that this gives confidence. The practical side of things, testing yourself, believing in your abilities, in your idea and carrying it out, it gives great confidence, especially even beyond the business, even outside the business that you're doing.
That's exactly. We are not just training them to set up little businesses. We are setting up them to have an entrepreneurial mindset, which is a culture. And any culture, with any culture or any norms, it's best if they are instilled when they are young. If you can remember what you were taught when you were young, it comes in very easily. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing which we should do right now whilst they're still young. By the time they grow up, they're already dejected and everything else. So they still have the energy, and we have that opportunity whilst they're still in school, and they have a lot of time. They've got that support structure. And, you know, if we can just impact them at that level, I can tell you that South Africa will be a different country in the year 2030.
Well, we have people like you.
We have 1 million entrepreneurs by the year 2030. That's a certain, but we must start now, and we must build right now.
Absolutely. So how do you then address the challenge of youth versus experience?
That is one thing which, if they can start young, that experience will be built. If they can fail with 2 or 3 businesses and they're 14, 15, there's not much consequence. By the time they're 20, 25, then you're getting those people who are really setting up big businesses. I always see young people coming in either from upcountry, or they come here 2, 3, 5 months, because that is already part of their fabric. That's part of their, you know, their being. They quickly see the opportunities, and that experience which they've already had when they were young, put them anywhere else, those eyes, those inner eyes are still there. So that's exactly what is absent in our young people in South Africa at the moment.
You know, young people can barely manage the pocket money that they get from their parents. Let's talk about the money question. How do they manage the finances of a business?
What we teach them, obviously, besides the program which we run as the Entrepreneur Society program, it starts off with idea generation. Right. So once they've got their idea, it's not just the idea. Then what do you do once you have an idea? They are taught cash flow, they're taught money management, they're taught financial literacy. So by the time they are, so the kind of things which get on by the time they finish that program, they have a lot of things. They've got time management. So even if you employ them here, they're going to see this as a business. They don't see it just they're going to work. They're going to see it as a business. They want to make it successful. Right.
Well, Lydia, you're doing fantastic work.
Thank you.
We want to commend you and keep doing it.
We need more people to help us do this kind of work. I can't do it alone, but I think if the whole country comes behind us, we are definitely going to get our 1 million entrepreneurs by the year 2030.
Right, and hopefully the right people are listening to you. Well, thank you so much to Lydia for joining us today and coming all the way from Cape Town. Well, after the break, we're joined by a young lady who's one of a trio that have come through this foundation, and we'll hear about their experience. Welcome back to Real Talk. Today we're talking young entrepreneurs who are running successful businesses. We're now joined by Rabetu Nkonyane, a third of a collective simply called Soulmate. They're a thriving catering business that provides turnkey catering for weddings, parties and funerals, and they're based in Cape Town. Rabetu, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you for having me. Thank you a lot.
Congratulations, firstly, for starting your own business.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of people tend to look at the rewards. They tend to look at the outcome of entrepreneurship, but it's filled with a lot of challenges. Indeed. What are some of the challenges you've experienced on your journey?
Well, some of the challenges include people looking down upon you and telling you that you won't make it.
Wow.
And some people even cast cruel words towards you, but it's all about perseverance and confidence and knowing that you started what you started and you're just gonna finish it off.
Oh, that's wonderful. Having that grit, right, to
Yes.
see things through.
That confidence and shall take you places.
So when you look at the landscape, the industry in general, there are a number of catering businesses doing the same thing that you're doing. When you started out, what was your mission? What did you want to achieve?
Well, what we wanted to achieve was to solve quarrels among communities.
Oh.
The idea mainly came from a certain entrepreneur. I joined the program in 2011, and Lydia is the director of it. So she mentored us. The idea was to solve, as I've said, to solve the quarrels among communities. Because when you remember, like, we are a small community and we love to help each other when there are funerals and stuff. But what happens is you get to borrow your neighbor, your equipment, your spoons or plates, and
Your
when they
chairs,
return to
everything.
when they return to you, like, they're not full, and you start to be like, mabang, like, this is not on, like, you didn't bring all my equipment and stuff. So that is where we come in to solve that problem. We're like, no, just come to us. If you break it, you pay, you know?
Yes.
If you lose it, you pay. Just keep your peace with your neighbor, and that's it.
So do you believe that being part of this foundation has given you that edge, that it's helped to mold you and helped to give you a sense of focus into the business?
It has, because if it wasn't for the foundation, I don't think I would be here.
Right.
Like, they discovered us, and we're so grateful. It gave us a lot of experience. As young as we are, we've been exposed to many things, and it's not glamorous as it looks, like being called an entrepreneur. There is school this side, there is business this side, everything just needs to be balanced.
So you're studying law right now.
Yes,
How
I
do you
am.
balance the two? How do you balance your schoolwork and running a business?
Well, usually we like to schedule meetings for the business on Fridays, because I've got a few classes on Fridays, and then during the week I deal with my studies and
You focus on that.
and focus on that.
One of the perils of running a business is business partners. You have to be so meticulous in choosing who you work with.
Yeah.
So how's that challenge been? Because there's three of you in the company.
Yeah, well, it's so nice because business just takes out the ones that are not meant for it. Because we actually were 4 partners, and because things get heated up, so the other one couldn't hold on. So now we had to be 3 partners, and even the other one is flaky somewhere. So now we took, yeah.
How do you address those differences then?
The journey
Are you
is
open?
so long. We open, we discuss, like, you come to us, if you cannot do it anymore, we
Where's
get it.
Banban? You're not pulling your socks. Come on.
We do, but when someone is not interested, then we cannot force. So we're like, okay, fine, we won't hold any grudges against you. It's just that we will continue with the business. Don't holla when it's succeeding.
And wish that you had been a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What has the role of your parents been? Have they been supportive?
Wow, I've got the best mom. I've got the best family. Like, my mom, she also an entrepreneur in that kind of a way. She likes starting her own businesses. So I think I inherited it from her. Because she will just start something and sell something, and she'll leave it and sell. Like, she is just juggling, selling. That's her thing.
Yeah.
I got it from her, and she's so supportive.
It has been said that if you watch somebody else, if you're around somebody else who started a business, that the chances of you having an interest and even succeeding at it are that much higher.
Yeah, they are, because I'll call this like an apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, someone might inspire you by what they're doing, and you might think, okay, this is doable, why not me? I can do it and stuff. Inspiration comes from there.
How do you deal with people not trusting or believing that you can pull it off because you're young, because of your age?
Oh, well, that one is difficult, because as much as you try to convince people that this is happening, we won't scam you your money, guys. Like,
We'll deliver.
we will deliver, but some people are just like, nah, I'd rather go for this. But we're not holding grudges against them. But I hope after this talk, they'll start believing it's like, it's happening, yeah.
So what gives you the edge, though? What distinguishes you from other similar companies?
Well, what distinguishes us is that our aim is passion. We want to solve community troubles and quarrels. Like, we are based in communities. There is a lot of township in South Africa, like lots and lots and lots. And some don't even get an exposure. Like, you need an equipment, right? But you cannot call an expensive company so-and-so. We're here for you. We just take our equipment, take our wheelbarrow, we deliver it to you, and everything is sorted.
And the funding, because of course with what you do, you have to have your own supplies.
Yes.
Do you rent, or did you have to have a huge cash flow in the beginning to be able to invest in the things that you need?
The glory and honor goes to S18 Entrepreneur because they've been the pillar of our funding and sourcing out equipment for us. Yes, like we are sponsored by Tsoko-san.
Wow.
And ShopRite, yeah, and there's still more to come, and we're welcoming more sponsors. Yeah, but those are the pillars. So far, we just received our boost like weeks back, and it was so amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So which part of business are you finding yourself enjoying the most? Because there's a lot involved. There's salaries, there's finance, there's logistics, there's just admin. There's a lot of work to do. Which one do you find that you're thriving at, and which one do you find most challenging?
Well, finances I'm striving at, and the one that I find challenging is administration. I don't deal with paperwork.
Spreadsheets and Excel.
I just count.
The money.
I just count.
So what's your turnover?
Well, that's a secret. I'll tell you when we're reaching. I want to retire before I even work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what do you
hold on
plan to
that.
do with your legal studies pertaining to the business?
Well, they are just there as a backup, and soulmate as my passion.
So we're not going to see you as an advocate or an attorney in the courtroom?
You will when I defend my business.
Defended if ever the need be, if ever the
be.
needs come. But at least there is a lawyer on the team.
Yes.
Well, Rabbit, so you've done a fantastic job. Do you also work to mentor other young people, going back to your old school, even just young people in your community, to inspire them to do the same
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. But we need more support. As Lydia said, we need people that will just broadcast the word out there and let people know. You know, there are youth nesting in communities, unemployed and stuff. They're not in school. It's unfortunate that it's an entrepreneur, it's based in school. So I wish there could be a branch for those who are not in school, that maybe they can partake. They've got brilliant ideas with them, just that they need the right platform and the right mentors.
Right. Yeah. And hopefully you'll get to play that part.
Thank you. That's my dream too.
Well, more power to you.
Thank you.
You are the sort of young people that give us encouragement and hope that the future can only be brighter.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, wow. Sure. So if that wasn't inspiring enough, still to come on the show, an entrepreneur who started her business at just 12 years old. Thank you very much to Reabetsu, who is representing her company, Soulmate. So look them up and give them business if you have an event coming up. Later on, we'll also have renowned author and child developmental expert, Nikki Bush, who wrote Future Proof Your Child. She'll also be on the couch to give some really worthwhile advice. So please feel free to also send your comments and questions via the social media platforms, and we'll address them later. This is Real Talk with me, Azania. Welcome back. Joining us now is a budding serial entrepreneur, Naledi Pafani, founder of Spectrum. Now listen to this. In the past 3 years, she's created an app that tells users about traffic congestion, and she's also founded a business, a feeding scheme that enables parents to order food and have it delivered at their children's school. And most recently, she's helping people in Sunnyside, Pretoria find accommodation. All of this, and she's only 15 years old. Where does she find the time for school, you wonder? Well, we'll find out in a short while. But before that, take a look at this.
How Spectrum came about, well, I kind of saw a need for innovative ideas. And I started to think of ways I could solve people's problems, because there's a lot of people who often complain a lot, you know, they complain saying, oh, I have this problem, or they want, while they're complaining, they want either someone like the government or someone with higher powers to help them, which often doesn't happen. So I decided to take it into my own hands and try and solve these problems people have every day.
And the star is here, Naledi.
Hi.
Congratulations, 3 businesses. That's incredible, and you're only 15. When did you start?
Well, I started when I was 13, you know, just out of curiosity, you know. My dad's an entrepreneur. He's been doing it for years, and I just wanted to tag along and just see what it does. Just the...
And then the bug bit.
Yeah.
And you wanted your own business.
Yeah.
To be able to say, I'm the founder and CEO of Spectrum.
Yeah.
Beautiful, great. But all your businesses are needs driven. Have you always been that intuitive about the gaps and how the gaps can be filled?
Well, I've looked at Africa and South Africa, and I've also looked at other countries, and I saw that they have so much and they have everything that they need. How come we don't have people providing something like that? How come we're not moving?
Yeah.
You know, it kind of seems like we are stepping back or moving backwards, but you know, we have so much potential, you know, as Africans, South Africans, and I think we can do it too. I think we can do amazing things.
Yeah, so you have that bigger goal, that bigger vision, and this is how you've chosen to play your part, to be a piece of a bigger picture and bigger change on the continent. That's a huge aspiration.
Yeah, and that's why we need people like the previous
Rabetswe, yes, and the team from Soulmate and yourselves.
Because I can't change this alone. I can't do it alone. It needs a lot of people, a lot of inspiring people.
I asked Rabetswe this question, and I want to hear from you as well, because in some of your businesses, you're in a partnership. How do you go about picking the people that you work with? Because sharing the same values is very important.
It is very important. And some people, they go into it for the wrong reasons, like Rabetswe said. They go into it for the title, you know, and they're not there when times are rough, when, you know what I mean? And they don't have a big goal. And when you don't have a big goal, then you have small goals that you're trying to achieve, or maybe if I can be CEO, or yeah, that's a nice title. Even the title of entrepreneurship, you know? And yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you there, because choosing people that you work with, and if it doesn't go right, then you've almost squandered all of that investment, all that time that you've put into it. So it's key that you see eye to eye, that you understand where you want to get things. But how do you balance your schoolwork and running 3 businesses simultaneously?
Honestly, like it's weekends, lots of holidays. I don't go out and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to Durban this term break. Bye guys, I'm at home, and then I'm with my dad and we're doing it. We're going to places. Sometimes it's stressful, and it also depends on the type of partnership.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes even if I'm partnering with my dad, he's an amazing person.
Because he's your manager, right?
Well, he doesn't manage me. He's my mentor.
Okay.
You must understand. And things get tough, really, really tough, you know?
So it must help to have that ear, that person you can turn to when business is tough, when things are rough.
And someone who understands, because a lot of times there are entrepreneurs who go out there, but then when they go home to mom or dad, mom and dad don't understand, why are you doing this? No. They don't support you, or they don't understand or have that point of view that you need. That
they get it.
Yeah, they get it.
What you're going through. You know, a supplier hasn't paid, or business is not coming in at the rates that you wanted to come in. They understand, and they can give you advice.
Disappointments happen.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Have you learned to fail forward, as it's been said?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, you're disappointed, but you kind of reflect. You know, that's the kind of thing you should do. You should be like, okay, I know this didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen.
Give me an example, though. Where do you think you had a challenge, you failed, you were disappointed, and how you dealt with that?
Well, there was a time where, okay, this is way, way, way back, where we were having a competition, right?
Yeah.
And, well, it's not really failed. It was the Ekreleni competition. In the middle of the competition, the idea that we brought up, it just wasn't coming together. I was like, you know what, I give up.
Yeah.
I was like really close to that point where I was like, oh, it's not going to work. you know, let's not present, because that's the thing. There's a stage where you're going to have to present. You know, I even just went away for a while, did my own things and all that. And I came back and I'm like, okay, fine, let's try and do something. Even if it's not perfect, fine. We presented and they're like, yeah, they were judges. They were like, oh, it's okay, it's scratchy, but you know, it's a great concept. Yeah. Go ahead with it. And that's just the go ahead I needed to push it and polish it and make it really a product that's great.
Well, with all of this on your plate, you're also a passionate artist. This is one of your works, still in progress.
Still in progress.
What do you plan to do with this side of things, or is it just a means of relaxing and escaping the entrepreneurial world?
Well, it is a means of relaxing, and I'm very passionate about it. I've been doing this ever since toddler days.
Painting and
drawing. And I said, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I can turn this into a business. If you mix something that you really love and you make it a business, then you're doing what you love, and
Yeah. So apart from your dad, who inspires you, especially in business?
Who inspires me? I know this is a bit cliche, but who inspires me is Richard Branson. You know, he has so many businesses.
He's a maverick.
Yeah. And just how he, every time, even in these kind of interviews, he seems so relaxed. He seemed like everything is fine, but he's doing so much. I'm like, okay, you know, maybe I should take from that. Maybe try, even if it doesn't pan out and end up having as much businesses as he has. Just try to.
And how do you deal with people that look at you, that find out that Spectrum is run by a 15-year-old and may have doubts about enlisting your services?
Well, I have a way around this. I'm going to say...
What's your trick?
It's a kind of like a cheat code, because I asked my dad, because he's an adult.
The front man.
Yeah.
He works for you in a way.
In a sort of way. Because I know if I went and came into the boardroom or whatever place and said, here's our services, we're going to do this for you, they'd be like, what?
Yes, who's this child?
But afterwards, after the service is done, I can say, hi, I'm the person. You know, to kind of just prove. It's kind of a way of proving that we are capable, like Ria Witzer said. It's just that in her business, it's a different playing field. You have to first show yourself before you do the work. You know, you have to look the part, or, you know.
Present yourself, be the in-person. Whereas with you, you're driving the app, you're promoting the services. So this is also a great solution, especially that school drop-off lunch situation. I think a lot of parents are going to find relief from that.
Yeah.
Is the take-up good?
Well, it's on its way.
It's on its way. Keep building.
Funding, you know.
Yeah, keep building. We're extremely proud of you. Thank you so much, Naledi.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, only 15 years old, and already she is building an empire. What a special youngster Naledi is. You know, our children have so many responsibilities and stresses to do well nowadays. We push them to get straight A's. We want them in the school's sports A team, and to also play things like the piano and still get jobs. So what does this do to the development of a child psychologically, you may wonder? Well, after the break, we're joined by parenting guru Nikki Bush. Don't go away. Milton Berle said that if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Nikki Bush is an advocate for preparing your children for the adult world and giving them the tools they need to be well-adjusted adults who can contribute to the economy. But how much is too much? In a day and age where kids suffer anxiety attacks and burnout, where do we draw the line? She's a contributor to many TV and radio platforms, and she's a speaker and author of the best-selling book, Future-Proof Your Child, amongst others. Let's welcome Nikki Bush to Real Talk. Hello, Nikki.
Thank you, Azania.
Great to see you again.
And you.
You know, Nikki, children don't deal with failure or pressures in the same way that adults do. So as parents, how do we help them manage the potential for failure? Because entrepreneurship is filled with these pitfalls.
Absolutely. And I talk a lot about the fact that failure is an option, which is almost the opposite to what we do with them in school, because we need them to pass, we need them to do well, we need to check all the boxes, and yet entrepreneurship and failure go hand in hand. So we need innovative thinking, we need creative, out-of-the-box thinking, but in order to come up with the right idea, you have to fail many, many times over, which is why we talk about serial entrepreneurs, or why we talk about the fact that mistakes are a very important part of learning. And children need to see their mistakes as failing forward. You said that earlier in the show, that it is a way to learn how not to do something in order to learn how to do something in a different way or better. And so as parents, we have to find ways to give our children safe ways to fail, safe opportunities to fail, and to try out their skills. And I think we almost become too analytical, and we start thinking too scientifically about entrepreneurial skills, when it actually, our children are surrounded by opportunities to try out those skills and develop them all the time. I think of a child who comes home from school with a list of raffle tickets. And it's so easy for mum or dad to take that list to work and sell them all, because you know what, everyone at the office will give me 20 Rand and it's done. And what we should also be doing, though, is giving our children the opportunity to sell themselves to family and friends. You know, we're all sitting ducks for our nieces and our nephews and our children. But it's to practice the selling, to go to the auntie or the uncle and say, this is what we're doing at school. We're raising funds for this. Would you like to buy a ticket so that you can win? It's pitching. And when you go and talk to these entrepreneurship incubators, these business incubators, it's all about learning how to pitch your ideas, which means presentation skills, communication skills. Bottom line is, everybody is in the business of selling. We are all selling something. We're selling something on this show right now, is the importance of the entrepreneurial mindset.
So that takes us into the realm where we are not just nurturing them and shaping them to get good grades, but this is a way for them to be well-rounded and really prepared for the challenges that life will bring their way as they become adults.
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is that the world of work is changing daily. And 60 to 70% of the jobs our children will do have not yet been invented. We know that about 60 to 70% of our kids will have to be entrepreneurs. Even those who are employed will have a portfolio of jobs, and in that portfolio will be periods of unemployment. And during that time of unemployment, you may want to upskill or reskill yourself, because let's face it, our children are going to live to about 120 years of age. Whatever you study in your late teens and early 20s is not going to equip you for 80 years of working. You're going to have to keep learning, unlearning, and relearning all the time. And maybe during that time of unemployment, you might get to try out some ideas. You know, we talk about young people today, the millennials, having a side hustle.
Yes, in this gig economy, you have to.
Yeah, and so something you're passionate about, that is an interest, can sometimes flourish and become the core of a business. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes we do jobs we don't necessarily, I don't want to say like. Okay, they pay the bills, but maybe it's not our core passion. But maybe they enable us to experience our core passion. So work can provide the money to experience our passion. And then we also have to remember that there is a massive skills shortage in the world. There are 40 million jobs that are unfilled. And a lot of those jobs are unfilled either because people don't have the right skills or because they're not prepared to do those jobs. Think plumbing, think electricians, think welding, think all those kind of artisan type jobs. There are so many around. You know, you start off being the plumber or the electrician, but then you become the employer of plumbers and electricians, and you start earning proper income, not a salary, but a much bigger income. So I think it really is about shifting our mindset about how the world of work operates.
Now, and you're so spot on, because parents also need to shift their mindset. So how should we nurture our children if we see that they have this entrepreneurial streak, that there's an interest in establishing and running their own businesses? Because for lots of us, it's like, oh, just do what you need to, just get through school, you'll see that afterwards. And that's for later, or businesses for later, when you finished your school.
Well, there's lots of things parents can do. Firstly, do not switch off the economic indicators when they come on the radio or the TV after the news.
Yes.
Because this is the lingo.
Yeah.
Okay. We live in a world where there is trading. Trading is business. There's always a buyer, there's always a seller. When you take your child to the shops when they're 5 years of age, who are we buying from? What are we buying? Pay the money over, let them play shop, fantasy play, but when you go to the shops, sometimes allow them to hand over the money, give them money to spend. Pocket money is a really good thing. And then also when you go to use services like the dentist, who is buying and what is the dentist selling? The dentist is selling time and expertise. We are paying for that. This is how the dentist makes money. When you have friends who come around for dinner, don't send the children away. Include them in the conversation.
Yes.
Talk about, you know, be part of that conversation. Listen to what people are doing.
Exposure. It's like
Expose
exposing them
to
to
your
different
friends
things.
who are entrepreneurs, who are in business. Let them ask questions. I have a friend whose son sells semi-precious stones as a business.
Yeah.
Whenever friends come, they're allowed to sell, you know, those kinds of things. And letting them start that lemonade stand on the side of the road next,
But
you know,
how young
outside
is too
the house.
young, Nikki?
You know, I think these children are playing fantasy play shop in their preschool days. And then when they get into that sort of mid to upper level primary school, that's when they love to actually make something and get a return, a real return. Schools have entrepreneur days and market days.
Yeah.
And that's also a lovely safe space in which to learn to buy and sell. And there's a lot of learning that can take place if we really ask the right questions and show our children what to do. And very often what we see, though, is parents running those stalls at entrepreneur days instead of the children. And I remember when we had market day, when my children were in that sort of grade 7 year, the kind of lessons were, well, you don't all get the corner expensive stand. You know, there are only 4 kids who
Someone's
can
got
get
to be tucked in at the back and work really hard to get everybody there.
Exactly. So you have to sometimes take your produce to the market on a tray. And you have to go and say, I'm here, this is what I've got to sell.
So that's great training ground. At schools, those that do anyway,
It's
are doing
fabulous
important work.
training ground. But I think what's important is the learning that happens also in the post-mortem of, okay, who sold the most and why? Who didn't sell so much and why? What can we learn from this? Because maybe it was bad positioning, maybe poor pricing, maybe we didn't read the market. We didn't know what the market really wanted. Maybe too many kids were selling donuts.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you
same
can't have
thing.
everyone selling the same thing.
Yeah.
Who was innovative? So some of the most innovative products are when they get those glass Coke bottles and they put kids, you know, the teats from a baby bottle on top of a Coke bottle. Well, those are a smash hit. You know, making syringes with sweet condensed milk. Those are always a hit. But you could...
Innovation, thinking differently, out of the box, encouraging them
exactly.
to break away from the mold, because the world is going to be demanding of new ideas. It's going to need creativity.
Innovation will be the lifeblood of business in the future. And I think what we as parents need to acknowledge is that the top Fortune 500 companies are not going to be the big employers in the future. It's your small and medium-sized enterprises, and our children are going to have to create jobs for themselves because they may not necessarily be handed a job in the future.
Well, Nikki, we're going to break this down a little bit more after the break. Of course, my journey as a business owner has not been without its unique set of challenges. And I relate so much to the stories that you've heard today. Well, for all of us, getting started is the first big step. And after that, it's being resolute in the decision to never quit, no matter the obstacles, that thing that they call grit. So after the break, Nikki and I will try to answer your tweets and your WhatsApp voice notes. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back to the last stretch of the show. You're watching Real Talk on SABC3. And to those of you who might not know, my name is Zania Mosaka, standing in for Anele while she takes a much-deserved rest. Well, I hope you are as motivated as I am after the guests that we've met on the show today. With youth unemployment at an all-time high in South Africa, one of the solutions to this may be doing more to mentor and assist in real tangible ways our aspirant young entrepreneurs. Parenting expert Nikki Bush is still with us, and we're taking a look at some of the comments that you've made on social media. And one from Sizwe says, yes, school teaches us to be employees and not employers. So kids should learn to draft proposals and business plans in the long run instead of applying for a house or car finance. We can apply for business finance, in turn create profits for ourselves, and therefore buy these homes and cars that we want to build that cash. That's the point that Sizwe makes. And Nikki, you know, the world has changed. We're finding that increasingly work is precarious. It's a gig economy. It's all about freelancing. So ultimately, all of our kids will need these entrepreneurial skills.
They will, and I speak to many young people between the ages of sort of 27 and 30 years of age. And the number of them who've already experienced either retrenchment or near retrenchment, sure. Because with the world of work changing, divisions of companies are falling away if they become obsolete, no longer relevant. Entire businesses no longer exist because what they did is no longer relevant today, because
and the role
maybe
of artificial intelligence is changing
so
businesses completely.
We've got machine learning, machines taking over jobs, but that doesn't mean that we won't reinvent ourselves and find different ways to work. And that's the thing with entrepreneurs, is having opportunity eyes and seeing the gaps in the market as they develop. And, you know, the creative side of our jobs will never die,
right.
But we need to learn how to harness the energy of machines, how to teach machines to do stuff for us. And, you know, this is going to be the future. We will be able to have people working for us and machines working for us.
Right. But one of the other things is not just creativity, but instilling in them an empathy. Whether they start their own businesses and just the way the world is changing, they will need to fuse the two, creativity and empathy.
So I always say that those who will be able to combine high tech with high touch are the ones who are going to seriously succeed. And that means having empathy and compassion for human beings, being able to relate to others, being able to build relationships, being able to work as a team, online or offline, and also knowing yourself very well. And I think real entrepreneurs actually do know their strengths, their weaknesses, their passions. They know where it's at. It doesn't mean to say that you're always going to be doing work that you love.
Yes.
Because right now, you might be able to make money doing work you don't like, and it might just be for a season. And so we're going to have purpose-built companies for a reason or a season that will disappear in the next year, or they'll only be there for 6 months. And just like employers are starting to use freelancers. So we talk about the on-demand economy, the gig economy, and they don't have to employ people long-term anymore. They have a very specific job that needs doing, and they can employ somebody online to do that job without signing a long-term contract.
And sitting somewhere else in the world,
paying no medical aid, paying no pension fund, none of the strings attached. Likewise, those entrepreneurs who are micro-jobbing and spreading their risk over a number of clients are selling their services over the search engines, over the internet. So the barrier to entry has lowered. And you can try things out. I have a friend who qualified as a lawyer. He studied science and law. And one of the things he did in his spare time was he wrote about gaming. He sold himself on Fiverr.com, which is one of these freelance platforms, as being able to write articles about gaming. Now, he was not an expert gamer, but he was interested. And because he practiced it, he got better and better. And he is at the forefront of gaming in South Africa and marrying gaming to big brands. And he is an outstanding young individual and a great example of how you create a portfolio of jobs in order to create job security, not a career.
But a lot of kids are also experiencing burnout at a younger and younger age. Just really sum up for us advice for parents on how they can intervene with and how to identify it if this does happen to their children.
So children who can't sleep, children who are showing a huge amount of anxiety, they might withdraw, they might obviously go to substance abuse. You know, I think the whole thing is to keep your relationship with your children in the center of everything. Because if you have an open and a good relationship with your kids, you can pick up the warning signs because they might just be a little bit off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they don't say that we need to be monitoring.
Solid advice.
Bottom line is that we need to be feeding into their self-esteem, their self-worth, and that is more than just telling them they're a superstar. And it's more than them just getting A's or being in the first team. It's about them having self-belief. I am, I can, I will, and I can do so at will, not always under pressure.
That is powerful, Nikki. Incredibly powerful. I think we need to play that back as parents, you know, to remember that this is the approach. Because a lot of us, we see our children go through this duress, through this stress, because they want to be high achievers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much to our parenting expert, Nikki Bush. So much to reflect on, and she perfectly summed it up for us today. And to my earlier guests, Lydia and then Rabedzwe and Naledi, in the hands of such young ladies, I'm sure that you'll agree the future of our country is in very good hands. Well, join me again tomorrow for a very special day. It's a bit more special than most for me, and we'll talk about old versus the new school in music and how to reinvent yourself in the game. And just like that, it's the end of my first live show on Real Talk. I am beside myself with joy. But let's do it again tomorrow, 6 p.m. on SABC 3. It's a date. Good night.